Hello, welcome to Adventures in Dolls, the United Federation of Doll Clubs YouTube channel. Today our program is entitled Barbie Variations, Porcelain, Silkstone, and One of a Kind. It is by Sandy Brown, one of our UFDC members. Before we get to the program, I remind you, if you have comments, please make them. Put them in the comment section below. We'd love to hear from you. Also, please hit that thumbs up button, and subscribe. Remember, it's totally free, no fees involved. So like and subscribe so you don't miss your next adventure in dolls.
All right, my name is Sandy Brown, and I am a Barbie enthusiast. And today what I'd like to do is to share with you some information about Barbie variations, maybe things that you missed along the way. Porcelain Barbies, Silkstone Barbies, and one-of-a-kind Barbies. So the information that you're going to see is collected by me, and the dolls are featured in my Forever Love Doll Museum. So porcelain, silkstone, and one-of-a-kind. On the left, I have an example of a porcelain doll, and she also is wearing a tiara. You gotta love that. Sophisticated lady. And in the middle, I have a silkstone doll celebrating the 45th anniversary. And on the right-hand side, I'm featuring one of Bruce Nygren's dolls. And we'll see more of those dolls. So why am I doing this program? Well, my childhood dolls, I grew up with Skipper and Chris that you see on the left-hand side, and I loved them, and I played with them all the time. But my sisters had the Bubble Cut, the American Girl, the Fashion Queen, all of the dolls that I wanted, and I didn't get a hold of them until I was in my 30s. So as a Barbie collector or a Barbie enthusiast, what were my choices? So in the 1980s, I could either go with the vintage dolls, which were very beautiful and I loved them, but they were expensive. Or more budget friendly, the pink box dolls, but they were cutesy and lower quality. Well, Mattel listened, and Mattel wanted to meet our desires. In 1986, Mattel went into a new direction. Prior to this, in the early 80s, Mattel tried to get into the video game industry like everybody else did. Unfortunately, they put their money in television and it didn't do well. And Mattel was really struggling. So they reorganized and they said, hey, what are our two great product lines? And number one was Barbie, the other one is Hot Wheels. And so they doubled down on it. And under the new management of John Ammerman, and he took over as CEO in 1986. He had been in the foreign line and he was working on international markets and doing really well for Mattel. And so they brought him in as the CEO, and they really came up with some good things. They said, let's grow that Barbie line. And how they were going to do it is they were going to really start catering to adult collectors. So it was the recognition of adult collectors, that secondary market. Mattel was seeing what was happening. Some of their vintage outfits for Barbie were selling for hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Mattel wanted a piece of that pie too. And they also started to look at increasing the issue price on their dolls. Prior to this, their price point was always about a $10 doll, and they didn't dare go beyond that. But under new management, they started looking at, okay, how do we cater to those adult collectors, and how do we tap into that money? And so one of the things they wanted to do was to make Barbie more collectible. And so they came up with some definitions. Now, these were not easy to find. What the edition numbers were, pink label, black label meant unlimited production. but it sounded fancy that you were getting a black label Barbie. They could make as many as they wanted. Then they came up with limited edition. Prior to 2000, limited edition meant that there was 100,000 or less of that doll. In 2000, they made limited edition refer to a doll's production number of 35,000 or less. Collector's edition means there are 35,000 or less of that doll in the world. Silver edition. Now, what's interesting with silver edition is I've seen two different numbers. I've seen 25,000 and I've also seen 50,000 or less. Gold edition, I've also seen the number reported as 20,000 or as 25,000 or less. The platinum referred to 1,000 or less, or they often had member only if you belong to the Barbie Club online. And then we know that there are convention dolls that Mattel cooperated with and created that were just beautiful. And that would be based on the number of attendees. And Grant-A-Wish was kind of their pet charity, if you will. And so oftentimes they will have people make one of a kinds and then they'll auction them off and raise money for Grant-A-Wish. So that kind of gives us a working understanding of production numbers. So this program is in 3 parts, and I hope that you're going to be able to really see some of the porcelains, also the silkstones and one-of-a-kinds. Maybe you overlooked them in the past, and I'm hoping that you'll give them a second look after this program. Well, in 1986, Mattel really wanted to get that adult collector, and so they created Porcelain Barbies. And that first one was Blue Rhapsody. She had a modern face, low numbers, 6,000 production number. I've also seen that number listed as 7,500. Again, some of my sources were conflicting each other, but the problem with that doll was the collectors, now mind you, the people that were spending the big money on Barbies previously were buying vintage outfits. They wanted vintage. Blue Rhapsody didn't make it. So what happened was a lot of investors came and bought that doll and tried to sell it on the secondary market at higher prices, and it didn't go anywhere. But Mattel listened to their collectors, and so in '87, they came out with Enchanted Evening, low production number of 10,000, and that was a wonderful vintage outfit with a vintage face. Benefit Performance, again, low production number of 15,000, and again, it's all vintage face, vintage outfit. Wedding Party Barbie, Solo in the Spotlight, Sophisticated Lady, all of those, again, had that collectability about them. And it was what collectors wanted. Here's an example of the ones that I own from that collection, the Barbie Porcelain Collection. We have Sophisticated Lady on the left, and then Solo in the Spotlight, everybody knows her, and Benefit Performance. Now, what's beautiful about this, and you can't see it here, but these dolls have incredible lingerie underneath. And it was just another way that Mattel really made these collectible. So now they're using porcelain, which was a higher grade material, and definitely for collectors. The vintage outfits that were beautiful and loved before, they've got them in great detail and incredible lingerie underneath. So it was just a win. These were selling out. One of the things too is by limiting the production, and each one of the dolls is hand numbered, as well as there's a certificate of authenticity that has that matching number. And then on the box itself, it has that number. So these went over really well. So what did Barbie do? They did some more. So they created the Barbie Porcelain Treasures Collection, almost the same name. And this was with the Gay Parisienne, the Plantation Belle Barbie, and the Silk and Flame Barbie. So again, using that porcelain phase and these vintage outfits that, you know, everyone has loved. Now, Mattel is really clever because they knew that the vintage outfits were going for high prices, and they made these. And like I say, so there was a price point that was substantially higher. These were running around, you know, between $150 and $200 new. But these dolls are slightly bigger than the vinyl dolls, the vinyl Barbies. And so the clothes were not interchangeable. I think they did that on purpose. One is because the people who collected the real vintage outfits were paying high dollars. And so it didn't go against them. Then, you know, it wasn't interchangeable for a regular Barbie, but just beautiful. Let's take a peek at some of the details. So this is Plantation Belle. And underneath you can see on the left her beautiful sheer slip. And then she's got her teddy in the center that you can see. And then the detail on her garters and with the little clips. It was just amazing. Now, I know not everybody undresses their dolls, but each one of the dolls in those porcelain collections that I've shown so far, each one of them had incredible lingerie underneath, just like Plantation Belle. And I have to show you this. Ken is from the Nostalgia line, the Porcelain Nostalgia line, 30th anniversary. And I was so surprised to hear that he had sock garters. So I had to undress him and look at those, as well as he has his boxer shorts. And so at this time, that high quality, John Ammerman was really insistent that in the brand, they had something for those adult collectors. And one of the things that we see happen is as Jill Barrett slides into that position, she also is kind of continuing on with that great value for those adult collectors. So Mattel wanted to continue, and they did the Wedding Flower collection: Star Lily Bride, Romantic Rose, and Blushing Orchid. Now it was interesting that because when I was introduced to these dolls in the porcelain line, you know, I would get one of these over here and one of those over there. And I didn't see the organized way that they actually issued them. It's pretty fun to see them all organized. So I'm kind of organizing my own list of the dolls that I own. And these are lovely, but they're all modern faces. And to save money, there's no longer that fancy lingerie. Each of them has underwear, and each of them has the nylons, the pantyhose, but they no longer have the fancy, but they're beautiful nonetheless. So Star Lily, Romantic Rose, and here's Blushing Orchid. And here I undid her back area so that you could see the actual area where she's numbered. And that's what all of these porcelain dolls feature, is the hand numbering that matches. So a way that they could really help increase that value, or at least perceived value. So that was successful. So they made other porcelain series, the Presidential Porcelain Series, Holiday, Gold and Silver, the Nostalgia 30th Anniversary, and that also includes the Ken that you saw, but then that also includes Skipper and Mitch. The Fabergé Barbies, Victorian Tea Porcelain Barbies, and the Prima Ballerina Barbies. So fantastic dolls. I don't have them all. I have just a couple here to show you. So to left is Mattel's 50th anniversary porcelain Barbie, which was interesting because Mattel really tried to push the envelope with her price point, and it wasn't successful. So it, you know, later on you found those dolls that were in liquidation stores and things like that. But what's beautiful is right now, because of the market on the porcelain Barbies, you can pick these up for, you know, 20, 30, 40% of their initial price. So they're at a bargain price. You might want to take a second peek. And Fabergé Barbie is still on my wish list. She doesn't have a home in the museum yet, but someday I'll get her when she comes down low enough. Look at the amazing embroidery work and everything. She comes with an egg, and inside the egg there's some treasure. So part 2 is going to be talking about the Silkstone Barbies. And they made the Silkstone Barbies because they wanted something that was a newer material that wouldn't break as much. They didn't have too many problems with the porcelain Barbies, but just something a little bit newer. This material feels smoother, and it's almost warmer. The coloring is warmer. It replaced the porcelain Barbie line. and just fabulous. So this is really under Jill Barrett. Jill Barrett's instruction that she really wanted to make, again, thinking about our collectors and what our collectors like. So each one in the Silkstone Barbies, which is also called the Fashion Model Collection, each one features a beauty mark by their eye or by their mouth on the left-hand side. Supposedly, there was a lingerie number 6 that didn't have it. My lingerie number 6 does have her beauty mark, but I've seen a photo of one that doesn't. So just trying to be complete there. So the lingerie Barbies came out in 2000 to 2003. There were 6 of them, very well received, sold out. They were discontinued because some people felt that they were too racy, and I'm sure that information got back to Mattel. So here I have my number 3 lingerie Barbie on the left, and that's how she came. And I think she was just fabulous. I loved her, but I had a problem. I had her in my display case in my living room, and I didn't really feel good about inviting people over to come and see my half-naked Barbie. And so I was fortunate enough, I had an After 5 vintage outfit. Now here's the deal. With the Silkstones, they are the same size as the vintage dolls. So now, even though Mattel won't say it, now those vintage outfits can be worn by your Silkstone dolls, and they look fabulous. I think she is just beautiful. Well, especially I have 2 granddaughters that are living with me, and I didn't feel right about having dollies not fully dressed. So I feel great about having her in my collection. Here is an example, another Silkstone, and it's Maria Therese. Beautiful and nice detail. She does have a little garter, little blue garter, so that's her something blue. And this is how I got around that issue of having dollies in their lingerie. I set a scene up where I've got, it's her wedding day and her bridesmaids are around her and fluffing her things, and then they're going to get fully dressed. So I thought that was a good way to get around it. One of the things about the lingerie Barbies is they all have simple hoop earrings. And so if you look from left to right, the one seated in the blue with the red hair, she is a lingerie Barbie. Next one is not, but she came to me that way. There's my number 3 with the simple hoops in the back. The one with the blonde curly hair. She was the one that really tipped the scales, that people said, no, I don't think we really want to just have her that way. We want more clothes on them. And then the one in the black is one of that collection too. And then my one in the red outfit, she's from a different part of the Silkstone Barbies, but I thought that worked. So again, it was amazing. Now, when you buy a Silkstone Barbie, it might say in the literature, you know, her clothes were made exclusively for Silkstone Barbies, but there is that exchangeability. So on the left, on this picture, I bought the doll at a thrift store, and she was called The Interview. So she was in her box, but she didn't have her regular clothes on. And she is wearing, yes, my most expensive outfit that I own. It just so happens to fit an 11.5-inch doll. She is wearing Saturday Matinee. It is a vintage 1965 outfit, and it looks fabulous on her. On the right-hand side is Day at the Races. And the person who I purchased her from, she didn't have the original hat, which worked out fine for me because she sold her to me at a reduced price. But there is that exchangeability in clothes, and that's what you did not have. So when they did the Silkstone line, one of the things they did was they kept that vintage face because that's what the adult collectors wanted. But now the Silkstone Barbie really became a canvas for new artists to design. And so a lot of Robert Best's work, he's made a ton of different Silkstone Barbies, and they feature new outfits that are reminiscent of an older time period. but very glamorous. Here are some additional examples. On the left, we have Radiant in Rouge, and she was an FAO exclusive. And in the middle and right, it's part of the 45th anniversary gift set. And just a close-up of Radiant in Rouge. You can see the detailing goes down. You know, I love her eye makeup. The detailing on her outfit, on her dress, she's got her bows when she's wearing on the right-hand side where she's wearing her little shawl, and that brooch is just beautiful. So I just think that's wonderful. And that seems to be really consistent with that Silkstone line. They are higher priced, but yet the quality of the fabrics, the quality of the designs, it's wonderful. And a lot of you have a lot more. In the first 10 years of doing the Silkstones, and they're still making them today, but in the first 10 years, they did over 100 different dolls. So you can find them, they're out there. I don't have as many as I would like. And then, so part 3 is one of a kind. What makes a doll one of a kind? Well, a doll is one of a kind when it's the only one in the world. But I was so surprised when I Googled it and started looking at discussion boards. There are a lot of different people that are very strong about what it takes to be a one of a kind. And they're saying customizable dolls aren't one of a kind because they were meant to be that way. And there might be somebody on the other side of the world who has one that came out just like yours because they did all these different options the same way you did. Whatever. One thing I do know is that people said that in order for a doll to be one of a kind, you have to change something or create something new. And it could be in the hair or the face paint, the clothes and backdrop. But everybody agreed if you just put different clothes on it, not one of a kind. So one of a kind personal ones over here on the right was the box that I bought the graduation doll in, and she was blonde and wearing a blue outfit, but it's a class of 96. And so in 1996, I graduated with my master's degree. So I wanted to commemorate that. There's a picture on the left with me, you know, on the day of my graduation, wearing my gown and everything. And so my Barbie, I found a Barbie with brunette hair who had bangs. Okay, she's got really long hair, but that's, maybe I just want really long hair, right? And she's got flashy earrings. That's what I had. And I went and took her, her tassel and made it blue so it matched my tassel. So that was the way that I made that a one of a kind. A lot of people make one of a kind dolls because it's fun. It's used to commemorate something that was important. Here's another one of a kind that I did. And this one was of, and some people would say, yes, that's a one of a kind. And some people would say, no, that's not. So during the beginning of COVID, unfortunately, we had to be in isolation for about 8 weeks. And because of our situation, I ended up having to teach from my bathroom. And so this is a doll that kind of commemorates that. Now, the close-up of my doll, you can see that I gave her gray hair because I've got some gray hair coming in. And I also painted her legs to do up like leggings because that's what I was wearing when I was doing my teaching from the bathroom. So kind of a fun way. And then we have my friend Tegan, who also did this. So this shows you it's not just me, other people do this too. So Tegan made a one of a kind of herself. And you can see on the left, she's got her striped shirt. It actually says Nap Queen. And that's what her Barbie says. And between the glasses and the nose piercing and the wonderful smile, you can tell that that's Tegan's Barbie and it looks like her. So she not only makes Barbies for herself, but she also does custom Barbies for other people as well. So if you're interested, I can hook you up on that too. Here are some more examples of some one-of-a-kind dolls, and just kind of fun to see what they've done with the hair. On the left, that was from a local artist in the Twin Cities, and that was more the environment doing that and the outfit. And on the right, technically not one of a kind, The little Kelly dolls were sent to me as a gift from a gentleman in Hawaii, and the other one I purchased from him, and I believe that he probably makes more of those, more of those dolls, I should say. But she's cute, so I had to include her. Here's one-of-a-kind dolls, a couple of them, really highlighting the hair. And I had bought these dolls. It was some individual who had been making many of these dolls, but they were dressed poorly. And so I was able to redress them, and technically now they're one-of-a-kinds. And then you get to the people who really made it, right, with one-of-a-kind. So Bruce Nygren started in the 1980s making one-of-a-kind dolls, and the focus was on the beaded bodices, making beautiful gowns and fantastic hair. And I was fortunate enough in 2001 to meet Bruce Nygren and to be able to spend some time talking with him. And there he is with a collection of the dolls from that show. So I had 3 Bruce Nygren dolls, and one of the things that you notice right away is the hair. It's incredible. Look at all the braiding that was going on. And this one in blue, which I got from a super wonderful person. And look at the hair with the curls. It's just great. I wanted to show you what it looked like from a different view too. Well, like any good researcher, you can't just have 3 examples of something and say that you've covered it. So for Bruce Nygren's dolls, I really felt compelled to add to our sample size. So I bought 4 more dolls. And so here we have, just again, you've got some really tight braiding, and then the ringlets just cascading down. This doll, her hair is just fabulous with those tight braids. Wonderful. And the beading is incredible. This doll also came with a fur coat, which was interesting because Mattel was trying to control the market. At this time in the 90s, there were several furriers who were taking a Barbie doll, and they were creating a small little fur coat and selling that for $400 and saying, look at Barbie in a fur coat. And people were buying them. And Mattel was like, wait a minute, you're using our doll to sell and make a huge amount of money off of fur coats. And so what Mattel did was, not only did they go after the different furriers, but they also had Barbie make a big statement about how Barbie was eco-friendly, and that Barbie would only wear faux fur. And so you saw that became like a big thing in the 90s because they were really trying to protect their brand. And it's interesting when you start learning about the history that a lot of things are really motivated by how to increase their brand and protect their brand. And my favorite type of one-of-a-kind is the one-of-a-kind dolls that are made for charity. On the left, there's a doll that I was the lucky winner on an auction at the Barbie convention. And so they have a lot of different types of artists that are willing to create dolls. Now, many times at the conventions, there will be people like Carol Spencer, people who have been designers with Mattel that create one-of-a-kinds. And I was at an auction where one of her dolls went for $15,000. So I don't have those, but some of the resources that I have pictures of those dolls, and you'll be able to look those up. So amazing and for good. So hopefully today in my program, you were able to take a peek at the porcelain dolls and learn a little bit about their secret lingerie, right? And appreciate them for what they are. They're a little bit bigger. And then also looking at that Silkstone line, which is just incredible. Like I say, in the first 10 years of the Silkstone line, they made over 100 different dolls. And then realizing that one-of-a-kind can be for fun, like I've done, or it could be for charity, or it could be for profit. So just kind of fun. Maybe you'll start looking at those different choices when you look at Barbies. The resources that I used, I have a picture of all the books. And the Collector's Encyclopedia of Barbie Doll, the 2008 edition, is fabulous. It shows not only the doll in its entirety, but it also shows a close-up of the face. And where Mattel made some reproductions, it shows the original doll next to the reproduction so that you can really see the difference. So great dolls. The book that is on the right-hand side, the 10 years book, that one deals with just exclusively Silkstone Barbies. So thanks, and I hope that you're able to look at the Barbie world with new eyes and maybe find a treasure or two out there.
Hello, Karen Allen here. We hope you enjoyed the program. Send us your comments and remember to like and subscribe below. Become a member of the United Federation of Doll Clubs today. Go to the website, fill out the membership form, and be sure to tell them Karen sent you.